The paintwork of the body of the Honda Civic IX is thin and soft, which makes it poorly resistant to chips and scratches. The front fenders, hood, bumper, and roof edge are most susceptible to damage. There are also complaints about the thickness of the metal of the outer body panels. As for the corrosion resistance of the metal, there are few problems with the outer panels at the moment. Among the main disadvantages, one can single out the tendency to corrosion of chips on the edge of the roof and hood. But the bottom of the car does not resist the onslaught of the red disease so well, since there is practically no anti-gravel and anti-corrosion protection. Reddish spots appear most quickly under the plastic underbody protection pads. The main culprit of the problem is a large number of holes in which moisture and dirt accumulate from the road. For cars operated in megacities, after 3-5 years, elements of the exhaust system, pipes and cables of the brake system, fuel pump mounting brackets, subframes and body strut mounts begin to rust. On older specimens, traces of corrosion may be present on the suspension mounting elements, inside the sills, on the seams in the rear part of the body, the front bumper reinforcement, and in the technological holes. There is only one way out: additional processing of the bottom with anti-corrosive. As for the reliability of the body equipment of the Honda Civic IX here, first of all, it is worth highlighting the use of low-quality felt lockers. They crumble over the years, and the fragile fastening of the bumpers. The fastening of the mudguards is also not very successful. The sticking of snow on which often leads to damage to the locker brackets and body openings. Able to deliver problems and fog lights, they often crack, after which the internal filling rots. The protective plastic of the front optics is quickly given up. It is overwritten. The windshield is also badly resisted to wear, scratches, overgrown with chips, which, in the case of unskilled selection and replacement, can begin to let moisture through the top seam. It is also worth paying attention to the rear door seals. They shift and begin to wipe the paint in the opening and on the door. There are no difficulties with choosing a Honda Civic IX engine, since most of the cars on our market are equipped with 1.8 engines. Versions are 18A1 USA and our 18A2 Europe, which after 2014 were replaced by our 18Z1 and our 18Z4. Rarely there are hybrid versions with a gasoline engine 1.5 L15B and diesel Civics with units 1.6 and 16A, 2.2, and 22B. 1.8 gasoline engines are quite reliable, but demanding on the quality of the oil and fuel used. So, for example, if you feed a car with bad fuel ahead of time, the catalyst and lambda sensors will fail. There are no compensators in these internal combustion engines, therefore, once every 40-60,000 kilometers, it is strongly recommended to adjust the valve clearances. Since incorrect clearances lead to the destruction of the camshafts, they crumble, especially when using low-viscosity oil. The timing drive uses a metal chain that does not require attention for more than 250,000 kilometers. Among the vulnerabilities of the units, owners and servicemen note a short service life of the lower engine mount, plastic, cooling system pipes, thin, dry belt tensioner, and a tendency to oil leaks. For cars with a mileage of 100,000 kilometers, oil seals and a cover gasket begin to sweat with oil. The culprit of this trouble is the crankcase ventilation system, heavily clogged. After 200,000 kilometers, a slight oil burn appears. The main causes of the disease are the occurrence of piston rings and a malfunction of the VCG. Another disadvantage is the high cost of original parts and the noisy operation of the absorber valve. Since this motor has very low revs of the 20th, it is almost impossible to warm it up at idle. The resource of the units often significantly exceeds the mark of 300,000 kilometers declared by the manufacturer. The motor that comes in hybrid versions is considered very reliable and has virtually no weak points. Among the minuses, there is an increased oil consumption and a dense engine compartment layout, which makes it quite problematic to maintain the unit. Owners often complain about the short service life of candles and expensive ignition coils. Rare replacement of candles significantly reduces the life of the coils. It should also be noted the need to adjust the thermal clearances of the valves every 50,000 kilometers. There are no hydraulic lifters. Among the shortcomings of Honda Civic IX diesel engines, it is worth highlighting the capriciousness of the fuel system, the tendency to err in the problem of replacing fuel injectors. They stick. In our realities, you should not count on the long service life of the USR valve and particulate filter. The 1.6 engine also has a tendency to leak oil from the heat exchanger and rotate the liners. In a 2.2 engine, with a rare replacement of the fuel filter, the booster pump quickly becomes unusable. Also, this unit does not like winter operation. There are problems with starting in frost. When buying a car with N-series diesel engines, you need to take into account the fact that it is not easy to find a master who knows how to repair these internal combustion engines, especially in the regions. Two types of transmissions are available for Honda Civic IX buyers, a 6-speed manual and a 5-speed automatic. The manual is generally reliable, but its clutch does not tolerate aggressive driving style. It overheats. Synchronizers also painfully tolerate operation in the slipper on the floor mode. With careful operation, the clutch kit is enough for 140-160,000 kilometers. Synchronizers can last more than 250,000 kilometers. Among the problem areas of mechanics, there is also a flywheel ring gear, which may be asked for replacement after 150,000 kilometers. Symptoms of a malfunction of the crown, extraneous sounds when starting the engine. You can also check the condition on the left. The reliability of automatic transmissions is also impressive, which can easily endure even a sporty driving style. The reason for the premature breakdown of the machine is a decrease in oil pressure in the system, which occurs due to clogging of the lubricant and the internal filter with wear products. If there are problems, at first the box starts to kick during gear shifting, and then it simply stops driving due to a lack of effort to compress the clutch pad. If you operate a car with such a malfunction, the wear of the clutch drums is accelerated. After 200,000 kilometers, it is necessary to replace the solenoids, the gas turbine engine blocking linings, and the regulator housing. The Teflon rings of the input shaft scratch-out grooves, which reduces the oil pressure. On long runs, the teeth of the satellites may be chipped and the differential bearings may be worn. Another of the disadvantages of automatic transmission is to highlight weak oil seals and excessive thoughtfulness. On both axles of the Honda Civic IX sedan and station wagon, an independent suspension is used with MacPherson struts in front and a multi-link rear. But the hatchback has a beam on the rear axle. Looking ahead, I will say that the suspension has a good margin of safety, plus it is inexpensive to repair. So, for example, silent blocks and ball bearings are changed separately from the lever with original spare parts. As for the weak points, in addition to the stabilizer consumables, the anthers of the shock absorbers quickly give up, and if you do not keep track of them, the life of the struts will decrease significantly. The CV joint anthers do not differ in quality either. Microcracks appear. Thrust bearings also serve relatively little, a little more than 100,000 kilometers. The cause of rapid wear is the tendency of the part to become contaminated. When buying a new part, it is better to take the original, as analogs usually last even less. In sedans with frequent loads, the rear springs quickly give up after 50,000 kilometers, the subsidence of which often leads to accelerated tire wear. The rest of the suspension parts, depending on the loads, go 140-180,000 kilometers. The steering system uses a rack and pinion mechanism with an EUR mounted on a shaft. As in previous generations of the model, the rail is not famous for its reliability and can start to bother with knocks in the first 100,000 kilometers. There are several reasons for the short service life of the rail: the use of low-quality anthers, weak side bushings, change without removing the rail, and a large load on a rather thin shaft. If the damaged boot is not replaced in a timely manner, this can lead to corrosion on the shaft, accelerated wear of the gear pair, and the bearing seat. The knock of the rack is eliminated by replacing the bushings. It is recommended to use fluoroplastic and lubricants. After 150,000 kilometers, the shaft with an amplifier also makes itself felt. When worn, play and extraneous sounds appear. Knocking. Also, the weak points of the steering include a small resource of steering rods of 80-100,000 kilometers. Tips go about 150,000 kilometers. The brake system of the Honda Civic IX is reliable, and its consumables have an impressive resource: pads 70-90,000 kilometers, discs up to 200,000 kilometers. Among the shortcomings, it is worth highlighting the tendency to souring of the fingers of the calipers, wedged, and the torso of the parking brake. On cars of the first years of production, there may be pockets of corrosion on the brake pipes and cracks on the hoses. Salon and electrical equipment interior finishing materials are of fairly good quality and retain their original appearance for a long time. which is why it is very difficult to establish the real mileage according to the state of interior details on a car, with a mileage of up to 150,000 kilometers. The only thing that can somehow help with the choice is the steering wheel braid and the seams of the front seat upholstery. They are rubbed first. On high mileage cars, abrasions are usually present on the handles and shift paddles. Among the shortcomings of the Honda Civic IX interior, it is worth highlighting the delicate plastic door cards, prone to scratches, poor sound insulation, and poor quality of the trunk compartment. Owners of European versions of the hatchback note the appearance of play in the driver's seat after 100,000 kilometers. Despite a small list of problem areas, the interior requires special attention, since during work to improve the audio system, alarms and replace the fuel pump, decor fasteners break, and not only. There are no particular complaints about the reliability of electrical equipment. The only thing that needs to be done is to monitor the condition of the condensate drain hose from the air conditioner evaporator, flies off and water flows into the cabin, and avoid wet-dry cleaning, as the contacts are sensitive to moisture. Most often, the connectors of the seats and airbags suffer, errors appear. Owners of cars older than 5 years often experience backlight failures, LED DRL, and rear optics. Since the purchase of original optics parts is expensive, Chinese counterparts are bought, the service life of which can be unpleasantly surprising. The heater fan can withstand about 200,000 kilometers, but the radiator fan often fails closer to 120,000 kilometers. According to many owners of the Honda Civic IX, it is less well-made than the previous generation. However, this did not affect the reliability of the main components and assemblies of the car. Due to the fact that many car parts have a long resource, even copies of the first years of production can be safely considered for second-hand purchase. Since the car is popular among car thieves, be sure to verify documents and VIN numbers before buying, or show it to an auto expert. If you are the owner of this car model, please describe the problems that you had to face during the operation of the car. Perhaps it is your review that will help readers of our site when choosing a car.